Hi everyone, this is Vivian Mauricio. This is Detangling Brazil. Of course, I always have to start apologizing for this. I'm still on business hours, outfit and face. As I told you the other day, when I opened this channel, this YouTube channel was to talk to you about a little bit about Brazilian politics. Of course, I'm not an expert, I'm just a laborer. So I'm here just to tell you what is going on, not even to discuss. It's just more like to report the things that I have been watching back in Brazil. And as I didn't see many things as accurate as it should be, so I'm trying to update you from my point of view, from what I'm seeing. Of course, I apologize as well because I live in a flat and the neighbor decided to hear a loud song, and also I live in a high street with the fire brigade as a neighbor, so you will hear some noises now and then. So the reason I'm trying to do this video today is to talk about Lula popularity. Some surveys say, some research say of intention of votes say that Lula is way higher, that is winning. If the elections will be today, Lula would win the elections. By the way, I did another video here on the channel trying to explain. I'm sorry, it's a half an hour video. I try to shorten it as soon as possible, as I try always, so I don't know how much time I will take here. Just try to be as concise as possible. But sometimes in order to explain better, I have to take a little more time. So also on this channel, I did a video a month-ish ago trying to explain to you how our voting system works, which is not, until now, is not, we can't audit, we can't check it, which is a shame. And this is one of big fights, big arguments, big alerts that Bolsonaro is saying, because since back beginning of 2010-ish, we have the same, actually since 1996, we have the same vote with the same machines, same technology, same software. Imagine you had your first mobile back in 1966, and now you have the most technological gadget, but we don't in regards to our votes. So it's worthy to listen and to understand how Bolsonaro, and also who is aware, I'm, for instance, so upset, so worried about the elections. If, as I always say, if election is played fairly according to the population or popularity that Bolsonaro has, he will win first turn, because as you know, when you have two candidates, you have the first round and then the second round. Okay, so I will try to explain to you, because I have a friend at work, and he sometimes at lunchtime we sit down, and he's very keen, very interested on Brazilian politics, and he asked, but Vivian, the media says that Lula is very popular. If the elections or the surveys say that he's winning, and you tell me otherwise, why, Vivian? Okay, there are a few things that you have to take into consideration in regards to these numbers. Number one, who is promoting, who is paying for this service to be taken? Most of them are like bankers or financial people that work in this financial market. And these people, you know, when inflation is very high, the profits, the interests on investments and banks and etc., people get a lot of money when inflation is very high and interest is very high, so they get a lot of money. And in Lula term and Dilma term, they made a lot of money, because as you may remember, inflation was very high, and he did a lot of benefits for these people. So there's a lot of interest of some money, people from the market or banks or whatever interested in that. So number one, we have to ask who is paying, who is promoting, whose interest is for people to believe that Lula is winning. Okay. Number two, unfortunately, nowadays, as I try to explain on my video on the election system, or electronic voting system, at some time we were taught, Brazilians were taught, we don't discuss religion, we don't discuss football, and we don't discuss politics. There's a reason for that. Maybe if we discuss, we discover things. If we discuss, we get into argument and lose friends. But the fact is, for decades, Brazilians did not discuss politics. Other thing, we do not have access to technology as we have today. For the last 10 years, 5 years, people change their interests. So people use it to, like, I used to joke the Brazilians are big fans of samba, of teeth and asses, but now it's much more than football or something else. They still like a lot of things, but politics is one of the subjects that they like more. Some of them do not know them, now very known and renowned Brazilian footballers, but they know the judges and the politicians' name, which is very good indeed, which is very good. So they change. So people today, so in the past, before technology, before mobiles, before internet, we had like two or three channels, mainstream channels, that sells whatever they wanted to do. They sold whatever they wanted to sell. And one of the big things that happened back in Lula time is that he paid a lot of money in adverts and to TV channels to keep quiet in certain subjects. This is the proof that the car wash and many other bribes and now many other things, they gave some attention, but not as much. So on the other hand, today, Bolsonaro cut billions and billions and billions of money for these people. And the only thing that receives every single day is Bolsonaro is not good, Bolsonaro is rude, Bolsonaro is wrong, Bolsonaro is eating, but Bolsonaro is in the crowds, Bolsonaro is against vaccines, blah, 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 blah. A lot of things. So people do not report. If you know about a little thing about Brazil, a little thing about our economic situation worldwide speaking, we are way better than many countries, even in the in America or Europe. We are way better than many countries are economically wise speaking, but they do not, the mainstream media in Brazil, they do not advertise whatever Bolsonaro is doing because they take him as enemy and they don't want him in power. So as I told you before, so why Lula has a lot of popularity? So you have to take into account whose interest is to make average people, as I was saying before. So now people have much more access to information, to technology, to internet, but there's still a lot, Brazil is huge with 210 million of people. So imagine that. I think less than a half of these people have the same access to information that me and you that are watching this video right now. So a little bit of the big population has access to what this kind of information. So if they see on mainstream or whoever is paying for the information, oh, Lula is winning, probably he will believe that. So as I said to you, so whose interest, who is behind, who is doing this service and want people to believe that. Also, something that's not really advertised when they broadcast on TVs and mainstream media, when they say, oh, Lula is winning from Bolsonaro, Lula is much higher, but they do not explain a few things, a few details about the survey. If you are more educated, you have access to methods of survey, you know there are some methods that you have to take into account. For example, number one, sometimes when they're doing the survey, there are many ways of doing that. One of them, and like what they called spontaneous, when they ask, who are you going to vote for president of Brazil? And people spontaneous, without giving any main names, they say these or that candidate. So number one is one method. The other method is they give choices, like if you have this candidate and this candidate, who are going to vote. So it's a kind of lead the population, whoever is the participants of the survey. The other thing is that they do is, the other day a lady was doing, someone was filming a lady doing this survey, and this lady was saying, oh, in Lula's time I bought an apartment, I had a good life, and etc., and saying wrong things that she believed about Bolsonaro. Bolsonaro is stealing, Bolsonaro is doing that, Bolsonaro children are robbing, are involved in militia, in bribes and etc. So she was kind. So after she did some comments, she said, who are you going to vote? She was filmed, she was recorded by someone, and the guy was saying, look, what kind of people are doing surveys? So what kind of people? And then she was recording her and she was saying, is it so now I cannot have my own opinion? And he said to her, while you're doing surveys, you can't give your own opinion, right? And there's also I forgot about something that I'm going to say, but I may come back. Oh, the other the last point that I want to bring in, sometimes because normally average TV, they do not cover these things, these details that make a huge difference when you say the big scenario, he's winning the election. So also they used to cover cities, especially in the Northeast, cities that in the past Lula had good popularity. He won proportionally, statistically, so in numbers. The last time he had votes there, the elections there, the voters voted strongly on him. So they don't go like to big cities, they go especially to certain cities that will give this or that. Also, sometimes, for example, they go to small cities where they have like 60,000 of people living locally, and they interview, like, for example, 17 people. So how can these 17 people, 20 people on this huge huge, let's say 60,000, and they know to go to a certain region that Lula was winning. So there are a lot of things that they do not advertise, little details that they do not advertise in media or go internationally, because normally the international replicate whatever the internal media says. So they say that Lula is winning, but actually, if you go to streets, if you go to the gatherings of Lula and Bolsonaro, you will see an immense gap. You will see an immense hole. This person from my work, he sent me a piece of work from, I will not remember the name of the journal. Intercept is from an American guy who is married to a Brazilian federal deputy, and from the left, which has kind of a bias, of course. We all have bias, and we have the right to do so. I have my bias, I have my political preferences, but as long as you say it. In Brazil, mainstream media, they don't say we support these, we like that. They just say, oh, this, and this, and we say we don't like this candidate, we don't like this kind of ideology. They don't say this plainly. It's very, very hidden, and etc. So he showed me this piece of work from Intercept, and of course it was a huge thing. I do not have time to explain, to go in every detail, but just a few things I will discuss. So this is the reason that I did this video today, and I have to stop here and ask you if you want this kind of video, if you think that helps you, help people around you, please help me to share. Normally I have a broadcast list where I send these videos plus good mornings and other stuff. I send it to a certain amount of people, around 300 people, friends or so. So I send to them. So if you copy and paste and put your social media and put your Instagram, etc., so you can get this update. And also, if you see, give your if you see on YouTube, do your like or dislike, make a comment where you're seeing this, because it helps to increase it to reach and to increase the popularity, the number of people that can see this video. It will help me very much. And as I said previously, doing videos daily, it's kind of difficult. We have to work, and then we have dinner to do, we have shopping to do, we have to make that call. So one of the reasons that I didn't do, so the idea was to do like once or twice videos a week, but you know, this is not very business-like, this is not very professional, so I can kind of be postponing, but now we'll try to do this spontaneous, do a little a little thing over there, write a little thing on the board and try to explain to you. So please forgive me also for my lack of English. As you know, I'm Brazilian, I live in London for 20 years, but even then it's never our mother language. So please apologize. I apologize, as I will forget a few words. So yes. So regarding Lula's service popularity, so you have to take into account these observations in regards to methods and how they do the service. Other thing that is still people in Brazil, people with low income, very, especially the northeast of Brazil, very low income and very not access to information, this kind of extra outside the mainstream. So why they still have it on the back of their mind that Lula was a good guy, was a good president. So we have to start the history of Brazil back in the middle of 80s, when inflation was like thousands a month, when you got money in the morning, just like Venezuela or Argentina today. So you have a money in the morning, in the afternoon is this, and at night is this, and even it is this. So back in that time, in the middle of 80s, inflation was this huge. So you got the money, we used to be paid monthly. So you get your month salary, this in the morning. So at night, people ran to do their monthly shopping. So this is how the money was worth it. So the supermarkets, the shoppings were all the time click, change the price all the time, because the money, each time the money was losing its value. So what happened by then? So in the middle end of the 90s, there was a president which was elected and impeached a few years later. But another president, Itamar Franco, came in power and found the country unemployment, the industry was down, and etc. Everything was bad. Poverty everywhere. The previous presidents have done a lot of mess. So he started a new economic plan. And then he invited to be the economic minister, a guy who years later would be the president previous to Lula, Fernando Henrique Cardoso. So, sorry, I'm gonna take some water. Sorry. Thank you for waiting. So, back in the middle 80s, Itamar Franco was in power, and he invited this guy to be the economic minister of economy, Fernando Henrique Cardoso, who had a very good plan, trying to explain to then president, okay, we're going to stabilize the market, we're going to stabilize inflation. So at some point of history in the beginning of the 90s, so we have 1 real, which is Brazilian real, R-E-R-E-A-L, real. So at the time, middle 90s, we had 1 real $1. So he worked the Brazilian money, Cruzeiro at the time, that had this amount of zeros. He cut the zeros, cut in this plan that I'm not an economist, so I cannot explain that, but he figured out and worked it in a way that $1 was $1. And at the time, Brazilian economy was started to stabilize, the inflation was down, the industry started to flourish again. We have jobs, and we have a lot of people that were abroad, were in the United States or Europe, were coming back to Brazil to be an immigrant and earning the same money here, and the same money and has its value in Brazil. So I go back to Brazil. So that time happened. So then he became president, which more and more increased his good job. So when Lula, and then he was a socialist, he was a professor, he was a philosopher, and he was a socialist, and he has this friendship with Lula since they were very, very young. So he admired Lula's ideas and etc. So he, I forgot the word, supported Lula. He broadly said, oh, this is the candidate that I support, blah, blah, blah. End of story. Lula was elected. Sorry, I have a little itch here. So Lula was elected. So why people, very poor people, or people that has no understanding of economy, as I said in the beginning, I'm not an economist. I'm just a laborer. I just work with, not with my brains, with my arms, but anyway, illiterate. So, but when we leave a certain times, we remember, if you remember a little bit, some people have some good memory, some don't. So I remember these things because I live it. I was born in 1973. I'm almost 50. I'm 49 years old. So I live at these times of big inflation. So I lived, even being a child or teenager, had idea what was happening. So I was there and I saw how the country was and how it became. So when Lula came, so he came in power 1st of January in 2003. So between middle of beginning of the 90s until 10 years ish. So when he came, so the economy was strong. Brazil had good relations. It was opening the markets, and this industry was okay. So people had faith in Brazil, because at the end of the day, I've been learning recently, economy is all about faith. So if people have faith on you, on your governance, people will bring money and invest in the country and whatever. So at the time, everything was great. The economy was strong. And when Lula came in power, he had his, maybe my lack of English will not be able to use the correct word. So let's have a big storage with a lot of things there, and then you come to manage this storage. So if you do not make many stupid things, people will think that you did not inherit that, you didn't do anything for it, but people will think that you were doing good. So his first term, because Lula was in power two terms, he was elected in 2002, came to power 1st of January to power 2003, and then stayed for 8 years, and then he was re-elected another 4 years. So he stayed 8 years in power. Of course, there was corruption, there was bribes, but we did not have much access to that. In another day, in another time, I can talk about many names with our mail. There are corruption there at Petrobras. You knew recently at the car wash, we had some scandal that was back in 2005, monthly bribes. So there's a lot of corruption there, but people were not aware because the economy is fine. So people still have jobs and etc. So when your popularity, what people can see, average people can see, everything was fine. So why he's so popular is the main question that this colleague of mine was asking. Why he's so popular? Because people thought that he was a good president and that he was good things. And also something that happened at the time, average people like me would not have credit. They were not allowed to have a bank account because only people with like what they would call here upper class. I will remember like middle class would have access. Back in Brazil you wouldn't, so to access to credit, access to a bank account, could borrow some money, could have an overdraft. So these things at the time were very, very, even in the middle of the 90s, this was very, very difficult to get credit. And once he was in power, he was late in the at the end of his term, people start having credit, and people were kind of confused in having credit to having money. So you know that when you have a credit card, I used to joke that when you have a credit card, you just dig in a hole for you to be put in there, and then you shout, scream, please help me to get out here if you lose control. And people were not used to that, so they have this idea, oh, I can buy, I have credit, the economy is fine, I have a job. So the idea was that. And then Dilma he could not be elected, so he put it someone which he thought that she could be a kind of a puppet, meaning you will do whatever I tell you what to do. So I thought I was still in power through Dilma, but actually she was not really into that and decided to take her own decisions. And as you know, Brasilia went down drastically. And many other bribes, many other bad decisions, the economic unemployment. When she left, unemployment was around 14%. And the industry kind of collapsed. And people did not have money, didn't have jobs, they didn't, even they have credit, they could not afford to pay it. And so there are a lot of bad decisions. And also car wash started, the investigation car wash started, and most of you know all about it. So what's the picture today? Mainstream media says that Bolsonaro is doing this and that. But you that understand a little bit of numbers, I don't, but you that are watching this, especially the people that work in the market, know that Brazil today is, they say it's the 9th or the 10th economy in the world. We are doing much, much, much better than other countries. Brazil is not the 4th or maybe the 3rd country in the world in regards to investing. People are coming to invest in Brazil. It's all about trust. Paulo Guedes and Bolsonaro are doing an amazing job and in cuts and cutting expenses. And of course, they're doing some very specific things like social for less fortunate people. They're doing a lot of work in order to, these people do not to suffer a lot. I do not have time to explain or to go into these details, but for the first time since I was born, I didn't see a government cutting so many taxes as Bolsonaro is doing now. For industry, for importation, exportation, for first, what they call like first essential living, like rice, oil, food, like people that eat average every day. So, I'm sorry. So there are a lot of improvements. So, why Lula is high on, has good numbers, is winning in service? I just explained to you the method, the way they did it, and plus, in the back of my mind of some people, they say, oh, in Lula's time was this and that, but because he inherited a good economy that could last for a while until they start to do some damage. So what I see, in terms of if the election will be today, who would win the elections? For as far as I see, Bolsonaro will win that. Viviane, why do you say that? Because when there are gatherings, when there are events, number one, Lula doesn't go to events unless it's closed. If it's a close, if it's a dinner with some kind of supporters, he will go. So if it's a closed event, he will go. But he doesn't walk on the streets. If he's invited, he just give interviews to set certain biased left people channel or radios. He just go to this specific where he knows he will not be how can I say people will not ask him questions that he will not be happy, or will not throw to his face things that he did, or being in prison or something, and etc. The other lie is that I don't have time to say that. So the other lie that the media or himself is claiming that he's free, that he's innocent. He's not innocent, and I will try to do another video that he's not innocent. Someone from the High Court said, okay, you know what? All this car wash thing, all these investigations, all the sentences were done in the wrong place, wrong jurisdiction. So let's start again, clear this and start again. So I don't have time to speak to that because it's been already half an hour. So, and Bolsonaro is working, you know, the economy is strong, you know the numbers, and I don't need to tell you that. The main thing is that Brazil has 26 states plus the capital Brasilia, and everywhere he goes, thousands of crowds come to see him. If you want some pictures on my Instagram, Detangling Brazil, it's over there. We'll see some pictures. If you want to hear more, if you want to see videos of this motor rides, people are organizing motor rides and inviting them to come, and you have like 10 minutes of motorcycles, thousands of motorcycles. This happening in every place. Big cities, small cities, he has a huge popularity. So Vivian, what are the chances of Bolsonaro losing the elections if the voting system is manipulated? If the voting system is hacked or manipulated, or doing something with the numbers, he cannot be, because there is a way of doing it. As I told you, as I tried to explain on my half an hour video, to explain how the system works. So it cannot be audited, cannot be checked. So whatever they say it will be, we have to take for it. But I have to do another video about it. The army is coming to try to come to terms to fix it and etc. And I don't have time to that. So if the elections will be today, according to what we see, to the good picture, to his supporters, he will win first round 80% of the votes, if the game is played fairly. I don't have much time. Thank you for watching. Please give your thumbs up, a thumb down if you like it or not. And most of all, share this information with whoever you think this information will be important. May the good hand be with you. Be blessed wherever you are, and thank you for watching. If you feel like, please join, subscribe, and share this information. Brazilian kisses to you from London. Bye.